Hello, good morning students. In this video we are going to learn the last two topics in unit 1. One is database architecture and situations where DBMS is not necessary. What is database architecture? In this video we are going to learn how the user interacts with the database system to access the data by using DBMS. Okay. And what are the components are involved in this architecture, and what are the how many types of architectures, okay, and how those components are interacted with one another, okay. And one more topic is the situations where DBMS is not necessary. Already we have learned what is DBMS objectives, DBMS advantages and disadvantages. We need to know the situations where DBMS is not necessary along with these topics. Okay, let us start. Database architecture. Database architecture refers the design of database and its related elements. That means it describes the connectivity of database and application programs that are used to access the data from the database and manipulate the data in the database, and the user interface which is used to present the data, whatever data you want in your required format. Okay, so it describes the connectivity of all these components. And one more point is the design of DBMS depends on its architecture. It can be centralized, or the DBMS can be centralized or decentralized or hierarchical. Okay. The database architecture can be broadly classified into the following types. One is single tier architecture, and two tier architecture, three tier architecture and n tier architecture. Okay. Coming to the one tier or single tier architecture. Okay, just observe this diagram, one tier architecture. Actually, the database architecture involves three layers. Each layer is called as the tier. What is tier? Tier is nothing but an individual layer, has an unique functionality. Okay, presentation layer and application layer and database layer. What is presentation layer? It is called as an user interface. It's a front end layer. Okay, in order to present whatever data you want in a required format, okay, the presentation layer presents the data to the end users in their required format. Coming to application layer, this is also called as application server, which contains the application programs which are used which are used to access the data from the databases and manipulate the data in the databases. Okay, all the processing can be done in this layer only. This is also called a business logic layer. Okay, and coming to third layer, database layer, it's a database storage place. All the data in the databases can be located in this layer only. It's a storage place. Okay, and all these components are located in one single system. That type of architecture is known as one tier architecture, and this type of system is known as client tier. Okay, all the related components, whatever presentation user interfaces we want, whatever application programs we want, whatever database you want, and whatever DBMS you have used, all the related elements are to be located in a single system or a single machine is called as an one-tier architecture. In this architecture, the database is directly available to the user, okay, and the DBMS and database resides in the user computer only. That means the user directly sits on the DBMS and uses it. Okay. The interface used to interact with the database may be part of the database or another program which ties into the database itself. Okay. So all the required components to interact with the database system along with the databases are to be located in the single system. Okay. And database designers and programmers normally prefer to use a single tier architecture. And any changes done here will directly be done on the database DBMS itself. It does not provide handy tools for end users. Okay. Generally, these systems are found in small businesses, suitable for small businesses only. And during the 1970s, most DBMS systems, DBMS management systems resided in large mainframes or mini computers. Okay, those are centralized systems. Okay, and those are those uses single tier architecture. Okay, and that means, once again I am telling you, the user interface, business logic and data storage, all the components located on the same machine. Okay, so this architecture is very easy to design, but it ensures least scalable because those are not part of the work. Okay, in single tier architecture, that client tier system can be accessed by only one user at a time. Okay, there was no provision of multiple users. Okay, that's why those are not part of the network, so ensures least scalable. What is scalable? Scalability. Scalability is nothing but it's a property of system to handle growing amount of work by adding resources to the system. Okay. But this system can be used by only one user at a time. There was no provision for multiple user accessing. That's why it ensures least scalable. Coming to the advantages. What are the advantages of one-tier architecture? Okay, it requires only one standalone computer. Okay, and also it requires one proprietary software. You need to buy only one and only licensed software. You need to install only the proprietary software in that single tier architecture. Okay, that's why no need to buy several copies of proprietary softwares. So it makes it the most cost effective system available. Coming to the disadvantages. This system can be used by only one user at a time. Okay, and this architecture uh, is not suitable for the organization where the data can be accessed by where the need to access the data by the multiple users. Okay, these are the disadvantages in the one tier architecture. Coming to the two tier architecture. Okay, in two tier architecture, it consists of two tiers or two layers or two systems. Those systems are called as client and server. Okay. In single tier architecture, all the systems, all the components are to be presented in one system only. But in two tier architecture, all the components are distributed among two systems. One system is called as client and second system is called as server. Okay. That means what is server and what is client? The database is stored, the entire database and DBMS is stored on the server itself. Okay. And the client is a system which stores the interface used to access the database is installed on the client. Okay. That means here in two-tier architecture, the client being the first tier and the server being the second tier. Okay. In one-tier architecture, user directly interacts the database system. Okay. But here the client communicates with the server system in order to access the database from the database system. Okay. That means all the requests are to be received from the client to server. In two-tier computing model, the user interface, that means some of the graphical user interface runs on the client and the database is stored on the server. Okay. What about business logic? Already in first tier architecture, we have seen three layers. One is presentation layer and second one is application logic and third one is database layer. Okay. Database server. Here the database server can be stored in the server side and the user interface or presentation layer can be stored at the client side. What about the business logic? Okay, the actual application logic can be run on either the client or the server. Just see this diagram carefully to understand this concept clearly. Those are several systems, client 1, client 2 and client 3. Those systems are connected to the server through LAN or WAN. Okay, LAN means local area network, WAN means wide area network. Through some type of communication media, those clients are contact uh, with server. Okay, in that server, all the databases are to be resided and the DBMS to be resided in this server only. Okay. So whatever requests of clients are to be received by the server only and processed by the server and it returns the required data to the client. Okay. So all the requests are to be processed by the server only. Of course, the actual application logic can be done either in the client side or in the server side in two-tier client side architecture. Advantages. Of course, it's least complicated to implement and the rules are relatively inexpensive. And one more important is this client, two-tier client server provides graphical user interface applications with earlier technology. Okay, so always graphical user interfaces are very provides much more flexible environment to use. Okay, and maintains a permanent or persistent connection between the client and the server database. The actual processing is shared between the client and server. So users could interact with the such system very easily. Okay, that means so many number of users could interact with this system. In one tier architecture, only one user can access the single tier system, client tier system. But in this system, so many users can interact with this architecture. Okay, offers a great deal of flexibility and simplicity in management also. Coming to the disadvantages, of course. Application development is done on the client side. Okay, already I have told you application logic can be run either on the client side or either on the server side. Okay, and the user interface, that means graphical user interface, can be located in the client side only. So some of the application development, some of the applications to be installed, and some of the maintenance of applications needed in the client system. Okay, that's why it's relatively to the maintenance cost of application as well as client side tools are expensive. Okay, that's why in two-tier architecture the client is called as a fat client. Okay, and one more disadvantage is if the client is in remote location. If the client is in remote location, all the data to be traveled from the server to client along with the network. Okay, that means the data has to be transported over the network if actual processing of data takes on the remote client. This leads to increased network stress. Okay, and in client side architecture, some of the client side tools are to be installed in the client system and some of the server tools are to be installed in the server system. Okay, that means needed software distribution. Actually this procedure is very complicated in two-tier client server model. And coming to updations, in case of new releases, those server tools and client tools have to be updated. Okay, this procedure is complicated and inexpensive and prone to errors and the time consuming. Okay, and one more important disadvantage in two-tier architecture is in terms of weak security. Okay, in client side architecture, clients are nothing but normal pieces where we are using. Okay, so every personal computer is relatively, those are very relatively easy to crack. And those are considered to be weak in terms of security also. So in client side three-tier architecture, the three-tier architecture contains another layer between the client and server. Okay, in two-tier architecture we have only two tiers. One is client tier and second one is server tier. In three-tier architecture contains another layer between the client and server. Okay, in this architecture the client cannot directly communicate with the server. It communicates with the server through the intermediate layer. That middleware is called as middle tier and also known as application server. Okay, that means the user at the client tier interacts with an application server which further communicates with the database system. Okay, now there is no direct contact with the contact in between the server and client and server. Okay, through the middleware only it establishes a communication between the client and server. So this type of architecture is known as a three-tier architecture. Okay. So how many tiers in this architecture? There are three tiers. First tier is known as the client tier. The second tier is known as application server or middle tier. And third tier is called as database server tier. Okay. Coming to the client tier. Client tier. So client tier requests for the information in this tier. And this is also called as a presentation tier or user interface. Okay, it's a front end. The end user operates on this tier. Okay, The main responsibility of this tier is to receive user events and to control the user interface and presentation of data. And most of the software is removed from the client. So that's why this client is called as thin client. Okay, in two-tier architecture, the client is called as the fat client. In three-tier architecture, the client is called as a thin client. Okay. Coming to the second tier is also known as application server tier or middle tier, and also known as a business layer, business logic layer. Okay. This layer coordinates the application, processes, commands, makes logical decisions and evaluations. Okay, that means the main application logic is loaded here and available to the client tier on request from the client. What is a business logic? A business logic nothing but it's a part of the program that encodes the real world business rules that determines how data can be created, stored and changed. At this tier resides the application server, and the programs that are access to database can be maintained in this tier only. For a user, this application tier presents an abstracted view of the database. That means for users, though users unaware of any existence of database beyond the application. That means the user doesn't know about the existence of database beyond this application server. Okay, and coming to the point of database tier. The database tier is not aware of any another user beyond the application. Hence, the application layer sits in the middle and acts as a mediator between the end user and the database. Do you understand, girls, what I am saying here? And coming to the third tier, database server tier. Okay, it contains all the data needed by the application. Okay, this tier is responsible entire data storage in the databases. Okay, and this server mostly operates on relational database. And one more important point about all these layers are actually three-tier architecture is used for web applications or enterprise applications. Okay, the first tier, the presentation layer, always builds on web technologies such as HTML5, JavaScript, CSS, like that. And coming to the application server, the actual logic, actual business logic can be loaded. That means all the application programs which are used to access the data, which are used to manipulate the data present in this layer. Okay, so those applications can be written in .NET, C hash, Python, like that. And coming to the third tier operates on operational relational database basis. That means it uses MySQL, Oracle, Postgres SQL, Microsoft SQL Server, MongoDB, like that. Okay. Coming to the, just go this diagram. This is three-tier client server architecture. Okay. So those are so many clients are there through LAN and WAN. Those are connected to the application server first. Okay. So application server receives our requests and process those requests inside the application server, and the data requests are to be sent to the database server, and the database server gives the selected data to the application server, and the application server presents your required data on the clients. Okay, this is what This is how the process is going on in three-tier client-server architecture. And one more important point in this architecture is client always access authorized data. Okay, there is no chance of obtain unauthorized data. Why? Because in application servers, those application servers are very secure and stored in a secure centralized server. Okay, that means whatever business logic loaded, those logic generally more secure and stored in a central server. That's why it always provides authorized data to the authorized users. And also the load balancing is very easier. Why? Because the actual business logic can be processed in the application server, not in the database server. So some of the burden must be decreased or must be removed from the database server. Okay, that's why load balancing is easier. Okay, and in this architecture, the client needs minimum software. Okay, that's why this client is called as thin. And change management is also very fast and easier to execute because the business logic is implemented on the centralized server. Okay, and already I have told you, tires are independent modules or independent layers perform a unique functionality. Okay, so that's why we can modify or replace one tire without affecting the another tire. Okay, so this is one of the main advantage in three-tier architecture. Coming to the advantages, this three-tier architecture improves or enhances the scalability. Okay, why? Because application servers can be deployed on many machines. So many servers, so many clients are to be interacted to the application server at a time through LAN or WAN. And it doesn't require a persistent connection between the client and server also. It improves data integrity. Always integrity means the verifiable state of data, accuracy of data known as data integrity. Okay, and security also improved because of the business logic, and also it does not have direct accesses to the database. So always the data should be secure. Disadvantages. Of course, it's more complex than two-tier client server computing model to build three-tier architecture. The client does not maintain a persistent data connection. Okay, so whenever the client needs the data from the database, he has to connect with the application server, and the network traffic will be increased. Why? Because whatever requests held by the clients are to be traveled from clients to application tier, and application tier gets the whatever data you want from the database server. Okay, that means network traffic will be increased. Always there must be transported data and requests from client to application server to database server, and database server to application server to client. So network traffic will be increased. Okay, and in this one more disadvantage in this architecture, it somewhat affects the performance of the database. Why? Because there is a, that means you cannot directly, the user cannot directly interact with the DBMS. Through the application logic only you can access the data. Okay, So that's why somewhat it affects the performance. Coming to the entire architecture. Of course, actually potentially the entire architecture, three-tier architecture is known as an entired architecture. Okay, entired architecture. That means it contains number of tiers or number of layers to interact with the database system. Okay, that means it includes several number of application servers, several number of database servers. Okay, if an application can be distributed among the application servers, so in order to load the business logic, in order to process the business logic, you have to interact with so many application servers. Okay, and also if the database can be distributed among several servers, there may be heterogeneous databases or homogeneous databases. So you need to interact with several database servers. Okay, so this type of architecture is known as entire architecture. Okay, just to see this diagram. So many clients, of course, in three-tier architecture and also entire architecture, the clients, so many different clients are to be approached in this architecture or used in this architecture, like systems, mobiles, laptops, tabs, like that. Okay, so first of all, it contacts with the web server. Already I told you three-tier architecture is used to process web application and also for enterprise applications. Okay, so entire architecture is best suitable to process enterprise applications along with the web applications. Okay, for example, web applications to contact with the internet web pages, we need a web browser, we need a web application. Okay, that's why first of all, through internet, those clients are to be interact with the web server. Okay, what is web server? Web server is used to process HTTP requests. Okay, and also it displays the HTML pages. It always displays, it always supports the static pages. Okay, web server. Now the web server interacts, the actual business logic is loaded in the application server itself, not in the web server. So now the web server in turn contacts with the application servers. Okay, so if the business logic is distributed among several application servers, then you need to interact with the several application servers. No, not only you interact with the one application server, the web server should interact with so many application servers if the business logic is distributed among those servers. Okay, again in turn, those application servers contact with so many database servers if the databases are distributed among several servers. Okay, that means in this entire architecture, it interacts with so many number of servers to interact with the database system or databases. Okay, this is how the process is going on in entire architecture. Coming to the advantages, overall performance has been improved and well suited for enterprise applications. Okay, the business logic is centralized and security levels increased, enhanced security levels are obtained. Okay, and entire computing model also make applications more readable and more reusable. Okay, and these applications are robust because there is no single point of failure, also provide many services to many clients. Okay, and enhanced scalability and availability. Okay, coming to the disadvantages, of course, this is much more complicated to design and implemented this model than two-tier and three-tier client server computing models. Load balancing is also very harder. Why? Because we need to communicate several servers from the client to database server. Okay. And readability is more difficult to achieve. Reliability, sorry, not readability. Reliability is more difficult to achieve and most difficult to maintain software. Why? Because to maintain entire architecture we need some special types of hardwares and special types of softwares are to be installed. So management cost also high, and the hardware and software tools in this involved in this entire architecture usually high in cost. Okay. And the last topic is situations where DBMS is not necessary. Okay. So it's also necessary to specify situations where it is not necessary to use a DBMS. Along with the DBMS advantages and disadvantages, we need to know the situations where it is not necessary to use a DBMS. Okay. What it means. In your organization, you are using already a traditional file processing system. Okay. Your existing traditional file processing system is working well if it takes more money and time to design a database. Okay. But that means you're not affordable to design the database. Okay. So then it's better not to go for the DBMS. If you really want database systems and really need those database systems in your organization and really you are affordable to maintain those database system in your organization, then it's better to go for DBMS. Otherwise uh, better to better not to go for the DBMS. Okay. And one more thing is, if your company having a small amount of data and accessed by only one single user, okay, there is no need for accessing your organization data for multiple users simultaneously, then you need not go for DBMS. Okay. Just you go for your whatever traditional system existing in your organization. So some of the undesirable situations, DBMS is undesirable if the application is simple, well defined, or not expected to change. Okay. That means your organization contains a relatively a small number of files, small number of less number of transactions need. Okay. Only single point of accessing and well defined, and there is no need to change and not expected to change, then just you don't go for DBMS system. Okay. And second one is runtime overheads. What are runtime overheads? Okay. In order to maintain the database system, you need to maintain some of the software tools and hardware tools also. Okay. Actually the cost of softwares and hardware tools in the database system expensive, and management costs ought to be there also. So if you are not affordable, okay, so runtime overheads are not feasible for that. What is feasible? Feasible means you are affordable or not. Okay, if you are not affordable to maintain maintenance, to maintain or management the cost of to manage the database system, just you don't go through the DBMS. Okay. And multiple access to data are not required in your organization, just you're not go through for DBMS. These are the some undesirable situations. And coming to the fact, frequently asked questions. What is database architecture, and explain types of architecture? It's a most important 10 marks question. And second one is, what are the situations where DBMS is not necessary? This is 5 marks question. Okay. And reference books. So university has given so many of reference books with the syllabus, but we followed some of the books to teach you, and whatever content presented in these videos or whatever diagrams we have presented to you, all from these books only. Database System Concepts by Henry Korth. Second book is Fundamentals of Relational Database Management Systems by S. Sumati and S. Isakirajan, Springer Publications. And third one, Database Systems Design, Implementation and Management by Carroll M. Cornell and Peter Rowe. Okay. So any questions? If you have any doubts, just contact me immediately to clarify your doubts, students. Thank you. Thank you very much.